Do you enjoy stories of interesting places and fascinating history? Hidden West on YouTube is about the past, present, and future that make Western America such a unique place. Every week, a new video will bring you insightful and inspiring stories showing why there is no place in the world like the West. Welcome to Martha Runs the World, a podcast with a new take on running, fitness, and all things health-oriented. I'm Martha Hughes, your host, and each week I present a new topic that is of interest to all runners. Hi, and welcome to episode 367 of Martha Runs the World. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. I always appreciate it. Through 367 shows. That's a lot. Sometimes I lose track and I have to go back and look at my list and say, what number is it? I don't remember. Before I forget, next weekend on the 31st of January, the last day of the month, if you are in the Southwest or are planning to be in the Southwest and still looking for a great race, don't forget about the Bootleg Boogie. It's happening. It takes place in Boulder City, Nevada. That's just out of Vegas. And it's a really great race. There are 3 distances, and you won't regret running one of them. They have a 100-miler, 50-miler, and a half marathon. The new race director switched the course around, so it's a lot easier. It's still a difficult race. Don't take that wrong, but it switched around, so it's a lot easier to follow. It's a beautiful area. The weather is perfect, and it would be a lot of fun to do. I would like to do it again, but maybe when I retire, I'll be able to get down there a little easier from Carson City than from the Bay Area. It's a long, long drive from here. Have you ever been in a race or long run and things aren't going well? Usually never happens when things are great because you don't think about this. But when you're just moving along and your thoughts are just not following the way you want, the race isn't going the way you want it to go, and you suddenly think of that Talking Heads song. Well, how did I get here? I ask myself that sometimes. I even have a shirt that has the question, you may ask yourself, and then all the questions in that song are in this big spinning wheel. And you just kind of spin the wheel and you can see which question to ask. That's also the picture for this week's episode. I'm sure I'm not the only one who turns to the Talking Heads when things get questionable during a race. It just seems to make sense in that weird way. This week, I'm not doing a what I've learned from my podcast show on this anniversary. I've done that in the past, and I don't want to repeat myself. Listened to those shows before, and you don't want to hear another one yet again. We've all learned things from our time running. We've all learned things from our races, from our successful races and our unsuccessful races. What I did want to talk about is how doing a running podcast for 7 years without missing a single episode has gotten to be one of the most important things in my life. And a few thoughts about that I have about that, I should say. Sorry, it's a little early here. I'm having my coffee. I am waking up, so nice to wake up with you. No matter how my life is going, no matter how my work is, no matter what, I have my podcast, and I always look forward to that. Even if I don't think anyone in the world is listening, I'd still probably do it. Even if I had 0 listens, I would still probably put it out because I love it so much. If I was just shouting into the darkness for no one, I would still do it. It's hard to express the joy I get from creating a new show every week. It's just so fun. It's a fun thing to do. I just look forward to it so much. Even all the not as much fun parts, like the editing, I still like it. I can't say the same about housework. Like, I have to do laundry tomorrow. My least favorite chore. I don't like that. I'd never look forward to that. I know Martha Runs the World listeners are very loyal, so fortunately, I don't have to shout into the darkness, so that's good. That's a very good thing, and I thank you with every bit of my heart. I don't have the words to tell you how much you all mean to me. Really, you are very important to me. When I started doing my podcast in 2019, I had such a different idea of how it was going to be. For the first year, I had some pretty high listening numbers. Podcasts were the in thing in 2019. I was riding the height of a wave. But then with COVID, my numbers took a nosedive and they never got back to those high numbers of the first year. And I'm okay with that. It was hard at first and I wondered what I was doing wrong. And I when I first started out, I thought, "Oh boy, my numbers are just gonna increase, and maybe I'll make a little money." But that never happened. And I soon realized that the way I liked doing my show wouldn't be the way to make money with it. As I said, I am okay with that. I had a lot of so-called experts tell me what was wrong with my show, and I do mean a lot, and I still get them. How I could improve it, get more listeners, blah, blah, blah. What they were telling me was how to be like every other running show. If you have these kind of guests on, if you do this, if you sound more upbeat, if you get a professional editor, and if you pay this, if you do this, blah, all this stuff that I would never do. Never. And if I wanted to sound like everybody else, I would sound like everybody else. If I wanted to have the exact same guests as everybody else, I would have the same exact guests as everybody else. Sure, be a carbon copy. Why not? That's what I kept hearing. Now, why would I do that? Sell my soul for just a few dollars? I couldn't do that for something I love so much. If I didn't care about my show, I would have no problem selling it out and following every word of their advice. Which makes me wonder about all those cookie cutter running shows. Do they really care about what they're creating, or are they just putting out something to make money? I like my uniqueness. Sure, it doesn't get the numbers, it doesn't get the money, and I certainly can't live off what I make since it's zero, but I love doing it, and I'm not compromising any part of my value system. Zero, zero compromising. And if you have to compromise your values, why are you going to do something? I compromise myself to go to work every day, and I work for a paycheck. And that's enough for me, I think. Really, it seriously is. Years ago, a lifetime it seemed, I published a metal music magazine. It was underground and covered bands most people have never heard of. I published it for 15 years and I loved it. It was a printed magazine and I took out advertising in it, and most years I broke even. Maybe I spent a couple bucks, but I really didn't lose a lot of money at it until towards the end when printed magazines fell out of favor, and then it started costing me a lot of money. So I decided to put it to rest. I could have gone the route of the bigger publications and made it a big, huge magazine and made money at it, had I wanted to. I could have written about bands that I thoroughly dislike. I could have interviewed musicians that I thought were terrible. I could have done all kinds of things, accepted ads that I thought were horrible, and actually made money. But then it would not have been my magazine. It would have looked like every other glossy, non-underground, so-called metal magazine there was at the time. Again, cookie cutter. People are always trying to get us to change, to not be ourselves. The hardest thing we can be is true to ourselves, to our ideals, to our values, to our morals. These are tested sometimes every moment. And for them to be real, they have to be firm. Values don't change. Our ethics should be as firm as the sturdy foundation of a house. I didn't understand this until I got sober. I really didn't understand this. I thought I could change and mold it, and no, 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 no. That's not how it works. When I got sober, I understood it completely. It's not easy. It's really hard. It's really hard. Sometimes it's really hard to come make a new episode. When I totally destroyed my shoulder, that was probably the hardest episode I ever made. But I made it. I put out an episode that very week. That very week that I had shoulder surgery, I published an episode. I could have easily just said, I'm going to skip it this week and I'll see you next week. I could have done that, but I did not do that. That means a lot to me that I actually made the effort to do that. I am patting my own back because old Martha, drunk Martha, would have never done that. I would have said, forget it. And I probably would have quit the show. There's a difference between sober Martha and drunk Martha. Becoming sober really made me understood the value of sticking to one's values and morals. And it really made the responsibility of sticking to them real to me, as did putting out my podcast. It's really important for me to put out an episode every week. And I love doing it. I love trying to find episodes and things. Quick story. The vast majority of people I meet respect my sobriety. There's only been a couple times where they haven't. And usually it's the other person's problem. Those couple times it's always been their problem, not mine. Once in a while, I will run into someone who's an active alcoholic, as I said, who doesn't respect it. And they are an active alcoholic. So it's their problem, like I said, not mine. And I realize that they are that and take what they say with a grain of salt. Well, a couple of years back when I started my sobriety, let's say I was about 2 years into sobriety. So I was new. I was strong in it. I wasn't weak. I didn't want to drink, but it was still all a new thing. So I really didn't know how to react to things very well at that time. I wasn't experienced enough. I was with a group of people out for the evening. They weren't close friends. I'm not going to say, but we had a common interest. I'm not going to say what that interest was, but we all had it together. One of the members of the group, he liked to push people's buttons. He was known as a bully, to be honest. And everybody but me, because I'm not this way, everybody was pretty afraid of him, and they would just kowtow to him and suck up to him and just be really nicey nice to him so that he wouldn't bully them. I don't do that. I'm not confrontational unless you push me, but I'm not going to suck up to anyone. I just don't do that. I'm going to be very honest and be myself. I don't care who you are. He was also a big heavy drinker, really heavy drinker. And then he was drunk, of course, that night, and he told me that he couldn't wait for the day when he would get me to drink again. Now, first I was floored because no one had ever said that to me. No one has since ever said that to me, and no one would dare say that to me now because, yeah, I would have a lot to say back to them, actually. But at that time, first it floored me, and then it made me really angry. It made me really, really angry that someone would actually have the nerve to say that to me. It made me so angry that I left, and I left angry. And I didn't talk to him again after that. We were done. Today, I would have told him off, and I wouldn't have been angry, but I would have told him off, and that would be the end. And I would just go away. Okay, after that scene, a few years go by, and this guy himself passes away. I don't know what from, but I'm sure his heavy drinking didn't help. But the nerve of someone to say that to someone who's sober, that they think that they can bully them into drinking again. What right do they have to do that? And no one else said it. Everyone else heard it. No one else said anything. They just cowered there like little mice. It's like, my God, what is wrong with you people? And I was angry at everyone, as I should have been. My point with this story is don't question other people's value system. Even if it's different than yours, you can maybe have a conversation about it, but don't judge them on that because that's their value system, if they are true to their value system. Of course, I didn't like someone questioning my sobriety. Who would? I do my show the way I do it because I feel it's the closest to my feelings about running. And those who want me to change my show don't understand the way I feel about running. They don't understand that my passion for running comes out in my show, and I want my show to be all about the passion for running. I don't just want elite runners on to talk about how they won this race, how they're so fast, how they work with a professional coach, how they don't have to have a day job, how they can spend all their time running and doing all this that you and I will never, ever be able to do. That's not relatable to me. That's not relatable to you. That's being unfair to you. There are 20 30, 40, 50 running shows that do that already. Why do I want to sound like them? That makes no sense to me. And maybe I should, because it seems that that's what everyone wants to hear in a running show is the top runners. They all want to hear about the elites. Well, I don't think everyone wants to hear about the elites all the time. If I want to hear about an elite runner, I know where to go to. My show would not be one of them. My show is for truths in running, which aren't always pretty and nice and happy. Sometimes truths in running are kind of icky and messy, but they're truths. And sometimes it's good to face our truths, in my opinion. Someone who tries to change your ideals and don't respect the way you feel is not someone you want in your life. And someone who doesn't respect or appreciate my running show and says, I have a better way that you can do your running show to get more listeners. Well, why? Who are you? Why do you think that my show has to change? I mean, what makes you the expert? First of all, someone who says that is usually a scammer. They just want your money. I've ran into so many scammers about that, usually, especially if they're from an out of country address. But and also, it's disrespectful of my show. If you come on and talk to me more and respectfully of my show, I might listen to you. Might. Probably not, but might. But when they come on saying, "Oh, well, your show kinda sucks and I can make it better if you pay." How in the world do you think I'm gonna listen to you? I'm not. Alright. I have a day job and I do the work that's requested of me and I do it well. I work really hard, but that's not my business. I always say I work during the day to support what I do away from work. When I'm retired, I'll probably still have to work part time, but I'll have a lot more time to devote to this podcast and running, of course. Of course, I'll have lots of time for running, which I'm really looking forward to. And because I won't be living in San Francisco, I'll be living out of state and I will have a car. I can go to these beautiful places and run away from here. I'm never going to be the type of retiree that sits and does nothing. Even if I'm watching a movie or hockey game, I like to do something else. I have a hard time just sitting and doing nothing. Outside of sleeping, the only time I can do that is when I'm out looking at nature. Nature forces us to sit and look, doesn't it? When we're running a beautiful trail and get to the top of a hill, that view is mind-blowing. And we stop and look. Just look. We just look. Nothing else takes our attention away more than a beautiful view. Then we can take a picture, check our watch for elevation or our phone for stats and keep going. But for that moment, we are still. And in that moment, it's just this glorious time that we can just breathe and relax and just escape all our worries. And that is one of the wonderful things I love about being outside and running. You have all this time that you're running and everything, and you're putting in all your effort, and you get to the top of the hill and you see the view, and yeah, this is why I do this. This is why I went up all those 300 stairs. This is why I couldn't breathe going up that steep hill for a half mile. This is it. This is why. And it's worth it. It is so worth it. Okay, where was I? I got sidetracked. But that's the kind of show this is today. I'm just talking about a few things that are on the top of my head and as it relates to doing my podcast for 7 years. 7 freaking years. I can't believe it. I made a promise when I started this podcast that I would do it every week. And that's a big promise. I knew I wouldn't miss a week as long as I was doing my show. But 7 years is a long time. I'm also the type of person who will be at work on time every day or be there early. I do have a problem about getting to races too early, though. I need to work on that. I'm always afraid of getting lost on the way or something happening and not making it on time to the race. And I need every minute of the race time before the cutoff time. Trust me, I need every second of the race. I don't know about you, but if are you one of those people that go two races too early, or you get there too late and make it just in time and can't even use the porta potties. I don't know. There's 3 types of people. You get there too early, just on time, or too late. I don't know there's just on time people. I don't know how they figure out the time. I don't know how they do it. They're mathematicians or something. I can't figure it out. Trust me, I cannot figure it out. I'm always too early. As I said earlier in the show, commitment was never that important when I was an active alcoholic. I always flaked on things. I would say, sure, I'll be there, and I flaked. Either because I was drunk already or I was doing something else and forgot about it. It just wasn't important to me. Things that were important to other people were not important to me because I didn't care. I just didn't care about things. I was angry at the world when I was drinking. There were a lot of things that had made me angry in my earlier life, and I never took the time to heal from them, to face them and to heal from them. Once I did, then I can work on sobriety and keep going, but unless you face those things, you cannot heal. You cannot move forward. And once I did face them, then I was able to heal. Commitment in running is really important, isn't it? We can't train for races without making a serious commitment to training. Okay, all right, we can run in races without training. We can. But do we really want to do that again? Oh, come on. Everyone's done that at least once. Everyone's run a race without the proper training at least once in their running lives. I know I have, more than once. Either I wasn't able to train right because something happened, and I didn't want to defer, or I thought I was trained properly and completely underestimated the course, which is what happened in my last race last June. Not last race, I guess, a race after the last one. So I took some time off racing and just ran to run. It was a nice break, and I recommend that for those who get a little bit burnt out on chasing medals and cutoffs. It really helped me, but now I'm back into training again. I'm committed to doing 2 50Ks this year. I got a nice 6-mile run done this past week. It felt really good, and I'm going to start upping my mileage, doing some longer runs now. Get ready. I'm going to do a self-supported 50K in April, so I'm going to work up to that, and then I'm going to do the Ruth Anderson again in this October. Those are my 2 big races. I probably will not do anything else because I don't really want to spend the money. I'm trying to save all my money for retirement for next year. Yeah, that's right, next year. Woo! But things will happen, and I will let you know what else is going on. But that is it for today's show, and thank you so much for joining me. I truly appreciate it. In 7 years, I really, really appreciate you being a part of Martha Runs the World, and continue because I have lots and lots of great shows coming up. And on that note, let's tie up our shoelaces and go for a run.